Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for yet another episode here of Knight Brothers Commentary. I'm Brad Knight, joined by my brother Matt Knight. We're sticking with the MCU here tonight. Marvel Cinematic Universe. The last episode that we gave you was on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, kind of recapping that series, and we kind of made mention during that podcast that I had not watched Loki yet, and I just kind of did a crash course in the Loki series and completed that over the last couple of days. And while it was fresh on my mind and Matt wanted to get it done, we're going to dive into Loki, which I'll just say right off the bat in terms of Marvel television and the shows we've covered, whether it be WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki was far and away my favorite.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree.
And I'm really excited about some of the, I don't know what you would call it, just setup and sort of foreshadowing things to come that are going to result from some of what happened in this series. So with that being said, Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, just to give a brief recap, basically Loki from 2012 essentially gets captured by the TVA after escaping the Avengers. And then he basically kind of finds out what technically is supposed to happen to him. And then later joins the TVA, tries to help him find another Loki variant called Sylvie. And then later he teams up with her when they go to like probably one of the worst apocalypses of all time, apparently. On Lamentus 1, he slowly starts to fall in love with her, which is weird if you ask me.
It's weird and it's not. I mean, it's not because it's visually it's not, I get it. It's himself. He's the narcissist. He's the egomaniac. So he's loving himself. I mean, it's kind of a unique, I don't know what you would call it, metaphor, however you want to spell it out. But
I mean, technically, it is a woman. So, I mean, there is some genetic difference there, but it's still technically him in a sense. So, I mean, it's like,
it's weird, Matt.
It's weird. I mean, it really does make you think.
There's no doubt it's weird.
Yeah.
But I guess from a viewer's standpoint, did I think their romance on screen was believable? I did. If you set aside the backstory and what we know, I thought their chemistry on screen worked.
Yeah, the chemistry was great. I mean, the chemistry between the two actors was great, no doubt about it. But moving
conceptually,
on,
weird.
Yeah. I mean, so eventually they get captured by the TVA. He gets thrown into a time prison where he basically has to relive a time where he essentially bullied Civ.
Yeah, pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. Mm-hmm. And then basically Loki reveals to Mobius that...
Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, who was just, I thought he was phenomenal. I mean,
I loved it.
I hope we see that character again, whether it's in another Loki series or somewhere else, popping up in the MCU. I thought he was a really, just played the role extremely well, which you would expect from Owen Wilson.
That's
great
true.
actor.
That's true.
But
so essentially he tells Mobius that they're all variants. At first he doesn't really believe him, but eventually he kind of comes to believe it once he finds out what happened to one of the TVA's hunters.
C20, I believe was her name.
Yeah, and then B15 goes through a similar conversion.
Yep.
Because she also got mind enchanted by Sylvie.
Yep.
And then she relives one of her memories, and it's like, okay, something's going on here. Like, clearly something is not adding up.
Yeah, they were kept in the dark
about their true natures.
Yeah, and given a purpose, while some may disagree with the moral grounds for that purpose, there was a purpose.
Yeah. And then eventually they basically meet up with the Time Masters, and then they find that they kill the Time Masters, and they find out that they were basically just fake robots.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny. I thought it was it was very interesting, just given where we're at as a society from an artificial intelligence standpoint, and people just worshiping technology. It feels like these days, and that's kind of what they did with the Timekeepers. And they get down there and realize, once we chop their head off, it's just a robot. What are we? Who are we really even answering to? And there is a man behind the curtain.
I mean, there really is,
so to speak. But he was using technology to sort of fool everybody.
And then Loki basically gets sent to the void, meets up with a few of his other, shall we say, variants who are also sent to the void.
Yep.
Sylvie kind of works with Renslayer for a little bit, and then Renslayer kind of betrays her.
Yep.
And then she basically sends herself to the void, meets up with Mobius, and then they kind of...
What a weird place, by the way, the void.
Yeah.
It was such an interesting...
And then there was the Thanos copter, if you didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was such a funny part. I mean, it's a short-lived piece in the series, but just a very interesting vibe they had there.
Yeah. Loki and all the other variants, they go to like the little hideout. They get betrayed. President Loki basically has his hand bitten off by alligator Loki.
Well, it was funny to see all the Lokis and all the backstabbing. And, you know,
you just knew it was coming. It's
they were all backstabbing one another. It was kind of this finger pointing that quickly turned into just mass chaos. And all the Lokis, you know, kind of going at each other's throats. And, you know, our hero, the Loki of this variant of Loki that we had been following since, you know, the Avengers Endgame sort of timeline, he makes it out.
Yep.
Reconnects with
Sylvie
and Mobius.
And they basically formulate a plan to take down the TVA. So Mobius goes back to the TVA and basically kind of tries to stop Renslayer, but that doesn't work.
Yep.
Loki and Sylvie manage to enchant Eliath, which is kind of like the weird purple monster.
Kind of reminded me of the three-headed dog from Harry Potter.
Oh my God.
What was his name? Fluffy or something?
Yeah, Fluffy. But which is essentially basically just Cerberus.
Yeah.
The three-headed dog that guards the door to the Greek underworld for those who study all sorts of mythology.
Yeah. No, I
mean, it definitely had that kind of feel, and it actually works very well.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have been able to do it without the classic Loki basically just illusion projecting all of Asgard. Like, whoa, holy hell, this guy. Like, how did this guy get erased? In my opinion,
it was pretty neat to see some of that come out. Just the potential of Loki.
Exactly.
What he is. I mean, you really got a sense for maybe what is to come and how powerful he could end up being.
Yeah, I mean, because you always felt like that he was never like really showing his full potential in a way.
Right. Well, they always framed him as secondary to Thor.
That's
right.
True.
It was kind of like the less than version of Thor, the evil brother, etc. So we saw a whole new side of Loki. That's what I really liked about this series.
And that's true. I mean, you really do get to see that Loki isn't the maniacal, mischievous scamp.
I think here's the thing. I think he is and he isn't. Right? He's got.
I mean, he's got that dual personality thing to him because it's definitely there, but it's more to it than just that.
Right. It's not.
I mean, you saw that. I mean, you got glimpses of it in both the Dark World and Ragnarok.
Well, and Endgame too. Again, that's what I liked about the series. These deeper dives.
Yeah, it basically just dives deeper into his character and just shows, hey, I'm more than just that villain from Avengers 1 and the first 4 movie.
Anyways, we're kind of building up to this climax. They get to the Eliath, a.k.a. the three-headed dog from Harry Potter. And Matt, take us to kind of the climax.
Yeah, so basically they manage to enchant Eliath, and they meet He Who Remains, who basically is just Kane the Conqueror.
Right. And it took me a second to pick up on that. I was so thrown.
I was thrown by it too. It's like, whoa, like who is this guy?
Right.
And then I recognized that, wait a minute, he seems kind of familiar because I thought I saw him somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then when he said Conqueror, that's when it hit me.
As he started telling the story, right? As he started breaking down what was going on with the timelines and multiverse, like universes stacked on top of universes, he did use that word Conqueror, and it was kind of like...
And that's when it hit me, like, this is Kane.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I've done a little bit of research here. Kane the Conqueror seems to show up a lot of different places. Kane, you know, as a character has a lot of different, I guess what we would call him now is variants, right? And so this one is the Conqueror one and seemed, I mean, his personality was, I thought, very funny. I mean, it was, you know, here's this, they get to this citadel. They have to go through this beast Eliath, all this stuff that they've been, you know, near death the entire way in terms of fighting to get there. And then they're met with this really kind of happy-go-lucky.
Charming, happy-go-lucky, narcissistic dude.
Yeah, who's just kind of like, okay, whatever, you know, you guys do what you want to do. And it was just not the ending that I suspected.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
But let's get into what do you think this ending, given that we're basically revealed the story around the timeline, the chaos that was created when there were multiple timelines and the multiverse and all that. Where do you think we are going from here based on what happened at the Citadel with Kane the Conqueror, as well as the final scene that we saw Loki return to the TVA?
Yeah.
Right? with Mobius.
And then Mobius doesn't recognize him, which basically tells us that Loki is now in a different universe from what he... And he realizes that when he sees the statue of Kane the Conqueror instead of the 3 timekeepers, and it's like, here we go.
Things have changed.
Marvel has really kind of had to step up their game because, like, what do you do after the Infinity Gauntlet?
Well, you change the rules of the game.
Exactly.
That's what they did. Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So basically now, moving forward, I feel like Loki really sets up 3 movies.
Okay.
A, Thor Love and Thunder, because, I mean, there's no way they're not going to have a Thor movie without Loki in it.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness, because, we basically just unleashed the multiverse. So,
right.
There's no way he's not going to try to at least maybe team up with Doctor Strange to help solve this thing.
Yeah, agreed.
And then we also have Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, because Kang the Conqueror has already been confirmed to be the main villain in it.
Well, I think what's funny is and I forget the actor's name. Maybe we can put it in the show notes.
Jonathan Majors, that's his name.
Yeah, so I think he actually originally went for the Ant-Man 3 part, and then they said, actually, we like you so much, we're going to make you, because he was going to be Kane, some other version of Kane in that movie, and then they were like, no, we're going to make you Kane throughout all the, you're going to play all the different Kanes.
Exactly.
And so that's where he creeps, I say creeps, but he's in the final scene of, this series here with Loki. So yeah, man, I think you're spot on,
so
Matt.
Basically, I feel like, because to give us some backstory on Kane, as far as I know, he's essentially a descendant of Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four.
So we could see him in another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's possibly, because Ant-Man might help set up like the traditional version of Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
Because basically Ant-Man and the Wasp may travel to another universe via the quantum realm where they meet like probably the true Kang the Conqueror who is a descendant of Reed Richards.
Well, and I wonder too, how do you think, because they were using, we know the quantum realm can get you into different varying timelines, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that happen. What about, and I'm gonna blank on the name of the device, what they were using to go to the different...
The Mobius strip.
Yeah, but the, it was like the little cell phone looking thing that they could use to go...
Oh, the TemPad?
The TemPad. Do you think is that timeline specific, or could somebody use a TemPad to jump to another timeline, right? Because they were using it to go to Nexus events that were branching off the sacred timeline.
But not necessarily like...
Yeah, not a whole new branch timeline. You understand what I'm saying? So
that's a good question. That's a good question.
I just wonder. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be through quantum technology, which would provide some limiting factors to characters jumping throughout the multiverse, right? Or is it going to be something that's more accessible to characters within the MCU, to where we start seeing, theoretically, you could see somebody die in one timeline and, their variant shows up the next day from another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what happened at the end of the series when Loki shows back up at the TVA and he's clearly in a completely different timeline.
Yeah.
It
is a good question.
Yeah.
But you also have to keep in mind that Sylvie actually wasn't using a TemPad when she actually did that. She was holding that weird rock thing, that glowing rock.
Oh, that's right.
So it wasn't actually a TemPad.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Because you're right. Because she kicked him back.
Yeah.
And that was I know we didn't talk in detail too much about the series. That was kind of a a surprise. Not a surprise.
I mean, I kind of saw that coming.
Okay. Well, you're better than me.
I saw that coming.
You're better than I am.
Because you have seen the growth that Loki has gone for over this series. And it's like, clearly, I have made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And now maybe I have a chance to
right the wrongs.
To right the wrongs that I've done.
Because usually he'd be a champion for chaos.
Yeah. But now it's like, okay, clearly this is, he's always, okay. The way I see it, he has always been a champion of chaos, but he's always wanted the throne more, or at least that's kind of what has been typically portrayed of the traditional MCU Loki. But
I agree. I just think, you look at like the first Avengers and the way that he was almost the first, trial of what we saw Baron Zemo do in Civil War, where he was trying to destroy them from the inside. He was trying to create chaos with inside the Avengers themselves.
But eventually
to get to the throne.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, a champion of chaos, but but with the chaos is a ladder, to use the term from Game of Thrones. He was trying to use the chaos to usurp
Ascend
the
to
throne.
power.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now he realizes that if there's too much chaos, especially with what Kane was describing, it's like, okay, there may not even be a throne at all, let alone anything.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, clearly, if we get this wrong, a lot of people, including me, will die.
Well, there's no doubt about it, because what the MCU's done now is they've essentially opened Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And what we saw throughout what I would call sort of the Thanos Endgame timeline, which has been almost every film up until now, really every film up until now, all happened on the one sacred timeline.
Yeah.
That's gone. So, I mean, So
what I'm thinking is a lot of MCU movies are going to take place within the multiverse itself.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to see it with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
We're probably going to see it with Spider-Man 3, because unless I'm mistaken, we got the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man coming back and the Andrew Garfield coming back.
Well, depending upon where they place the movies in the actual timeline of for example, we got Captain Marvel later on, but the movie was focused predated, right?
Yeah.
It was, so I'm just saying, depending upon where they put these movies in the timeline,
every
movie has to deal with the multiverse in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
You're not going to have an MCU film post Loki in the timeline that doesn't have something to do with the multiverse. Yeah. Because how could you ignore that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's just too big.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, what I like about it, Matt, I wouldn't say I'm a diehard fan, but I follow it pretty closely.
Yeah.
I think it just opens so many doors.
It really does.
It gives them the creative freedom to do. They're not bound by, Thanos is an ancient history right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're no longer going to compare
this
to what happened with Thanos, because like I said before, I mean, the rules of the game have changed. The dynamics are completely different.
Basically, phases 1 through 3 were basically it was a very contained story.
Yeah.
Now, everything post Infinity, post the Infinity Saga.
Yep.
Everything is almost fair game.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It's I'm excited. I mean, so let's kind of bring this thing in. So what is next in terms of the MCU and what we should expect? I know I'm just trying to think in my head. Shang-Chi, where are we at with that?
As far as, I've seen the trailer. It's been a while, so as far as I'm aware, he's probably going to be, I'm not sure if he's going to be like a main character, but
I think he's going to be one of the Avengers, don't you?
I think he will definitely be. I don't think he'll be a true Avenger. I mean, he'll definitely be allied with the Avengers.
Okay.
But as far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if he's going to be like one of the main team members.
Okay.
Though him taking on Abomination, who we haven't seen literally since 2008 with that Hulk movie.
Yeah. Which most people don't even remember.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So bringing them back is going to be big.
When does that movie come out? Do you know?
Man, I want to say not that far off.
I was going to say, I feel like we're coming up. I mean, there's what all are we getting this winter? I know that there's
the Eternals, I think, is coming out.
Spider-Man's close, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man's close.
I feel like there was a couple others. When is Doctor Strange? That's early next year, right?
That's early next year.
Okay. Any television series have we seen? I haven't seen episodes yet. That What If animated series, has that launched yet?
I don't think it has yet.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, there's a lot of content coming.
There's a lot of content coming out.
Yeah, we got a lot to come. So
yeah, we definitely got a lot coming.
Anything else, Matt, before we kind of wrap this up?
It's not really. I mean, I think we did pretty well. So
yeah, I do too. I mean, listen, I love this stuff because it's setting us up for a lot of exciting things to come. I found the series extremely entertaining. Tom Hiddleston, as always, is.
Oh yeah, Tom Hiddleston. I mean, say what you want, but I mean, he's like the Mark Hamill of the MCU.
Right.
There's actually a lot. There's actually a lot of characters that are like the Mark Hamill of the MCU, but the way I see it, I mean, he was born. I mean, you can't see anyone else playing Loki. You really can't.
He's owned the role. The fans love him, and I hope we see him, a lot as we get into phase 4 and phase 5. I'm sure we will.
Oh, trust me, we will.
Yeah,
we will.
Given this series. So anyways, let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you like it, like, share, subscribe, etc. Matt, anything else before we sign off?
Nope.
Awesome. Have a great night, everybody.